All right, we move on to our 2017 Achievement Report. This is focused on our SAT. Dr. Swift.
Well, thank you, trustees. We're always excited in the fall to share our student achievement. And as the trustees know, we have achievement reports year-round. And this is typically the first one in the fall, and then we'll move through the year with regular updates. Trustees will have this both on the screen and you have a paper copy there. We've done our best to really expand our analysis this fall, and our research team, I want to commend them for finishing this data analysis because they are deep in the midst of student count, which is due in just a few days while they were doing SAT. So I excuse them from the meeting tonight, but I feel like we've been very well briefed, and as Trustee Lightfoot shared, Performance Committee, we had just great discussion last week on this, and so we're excited to share this evening. Just a quick reminder at the beginning, the SAT assessment is given to every 11th grade student. So this data this evening are the data from the spring of 2017. So that's an April exam required by the state of Michigan. This is the high school accountability. I do have to share that this particular assessment, I believe our students take very seriously. It does have more value in that it opens the door to college for many students who otherwise might not have that opportunity. We are one of only three states, trustees, that assess 100% of 11th grade students. I'm very proud that Michigan has taken the step to assess all students. Most states across our country will only assess those, if you'll forgive the term, that they consider on a college track, or students are going outside of school, parents are having to pay the assessment fee, and we know that that would prevent some of our students from having that opportunity. So I'm very proud from an equity standpoint that we are one of the states that tests everyone. There are a batch of states there that test 70% or more of their students. The advantage of that SAT metric, we see it as a systems output metric. Students take it in the spring of their 11th grade year, and it really indicates to us how we're doing compared with other systems across the country. It does provide college entrance assessment at no cost so that every student is able then to apply to college. It provides valuable information about college readiness. And trustees who've been on the board, you know this is only our second year on the SAT. We were prior on the ACT. So you'll see tonight that for the first time, we have comparative data. Still too early to see a trend, but we do have data. Slides 4 and 5, trustees, if you want to take a look at those, really tries to point out exactly all the parts of the assessment. So the reading and writing, the math, that a lot of the reading and the analysis is actually in the content area. So it's in science, it's in social studies. That makes this assessment quite a stretch in terms of the reading and writing that is required. Slide 5 really looks at the actual numbers that we see. We know it's 800 points for reading and writing and 800 points for math, and we look at the whole score at 1,600 points with all of that put together. Trustees, we've divided the data into a couple of sections because if you're not careful, at least for me, it can all run together. So section 1 is about SAT mean scores, and that is both sides, math, reading and writing, all put together, and it gives us a look at how our students are doing. For high schools, in Ann Arbor Public Schools, all of them improved their top 20 ratings. You can see here from the orange square 2016 to the blue square 2017, every single high school improved their rankings. Every single high school improved their scores here. I will point out as we look at the next slide, slide 8, that we do not publicly publish the Pathways campus scores because that in size is below, it's fewer than 30 students. So we do not publish groups that are that small, but you can see that our 4 other high school programs are listed here, and we're very proud to share that all 4 high schools improved their overall assessment scores on the SAT. And I'll let you take a look there at the details. In slide 9, we're looking at our overall SAT mean scores. We're very proud to see that Ann Arbor Public Schools increased our overall mean by 32.6 points, and you can see by comparison where the state was, their increase of 6 points. So we're proud to see that happen. We tried on slide 10 to have you take a look at how our subgroups are doing. We used a guideline of 30 points out of the 1,600 to mark any areas of increase at 30 points or more or decrease of 30 points or more. I will put out that, right up front that we just chose 30 points because it's about 2% of the overall score. We'll be working further with the college boards to really try to get deeper into what would be a significant change, but we do have our eye on all of these numbers. As you can see, significant gains with Asian students, with multi, and with English proficiency students, significant gains. There was a slight decrease with African American students, and so you can see there how we're doing in our subgroups. On slide 11, of course, we know that we expect in Ann Arbor that we will perform above the state levels, but trustees, the reason we include this slide in our analysis is to see the areas where we're really not very different from the state, because that says we've got work to do. And so as you look at this, we see right away that with economically disadvantaged and then also with African American students, there's not as much of a significant difference. So we can see there that there's an indicator of our need for additional work. We have also had our eye on how boys and girls are doing different from each other. And you can see there, girls improved in Ann Arbor Public Schools this year by 41.9 points, yay girls. Our boys also improved, and after these improvements, you can see that boys are still edging girls by just a very small margin. And you can see at the state level, there was very little movement. But I do notice at the state level, girls are edging boys ever so slightly. So just kind of a fascinating comparison there. We do this analysis like we do all of our analyses in concentric circles moving outward. So our next circle, we look at those schools that are geographically near us. And you can see the blue line going across your page is Ann Arbor Public Schools. And you can see how we compare to those districts in Washtenaw County by how we compare to charters and consortium schools. And then we also choose high-performing districts from across the state. And you can see that Northville and Novi are right there. Northville edged us just a bit. And then we also choose 4 districts. There is no district, by the way, that is completely similar to Ann Arbor Public Schools in Michigan. But those districts on the far right, Farmington, Plymouth Canton, South Lyon, and Walled Lake, are a little bit closer in comparison to us in terms of size and demographics. This year, I'm very proud of our research team because we asked last year after our board discussion to really zoom the lens out and do some national comparison. So I'm proud to bring you this evening. It's a start. What we know, and Ms. Bacalor, you hear often, compares her Rec and Ed division nationally to about 5, 6, 7 cities across the country. We actually started with her list. About half of those don't give a SAT, they give ACT, so we had to take those guys off the list. And we really found these 2 districts that were the nearest us among those states that give SAT. So Boulder Valley, and on slide 14, trustees, you can see the demographic comparisons there. Boulder is about not quite twice our size. Chapel Hill, from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, they're more similar to our size, and you can see along demographics how they lay out. Probably one of the most important pieces for us in data is if you look along that bottom line there of the economically disadvantaged, that we're really very close across the 3 districts. The national comparison then across our 3 districts on the mean score, the average score, you can see Ann Arbor Public Schools there compared to Boulder Valley and Chapel Hill. Another metric that we look at with SAT is the number of 2018 National Merit Semi-Finalists. And of course, trustees, we were so excited in September to find out that this year Ann Arbor Public Schools congratulated 56 National Merit Scholars. That is the largest number of National Merit Scholars from any district in the state of Michigan. And in fact, 56 of those scholars accounts for 11% of all the scholars in the state of Michigan. We're very proud of that number. Huron High School needs to be noted right here for 28 National Merit Scholars from Huron High School alone, and they are in the top 5 of high school campuses in the state. When we took that same comparison across the 3 districts, and I will note that this is from last year. They were unable to get from all 3 districts the number for this year because that data is just fresh. And we will get that though and have it as a part of our presentation when it's available. But you can see there how we compared last year in the number of merit semifinalists. Now, trustees, we're going to go into reading and writing. So we're making a little bit of a turn here. As we make this adjustment, please remember that it's 800 now is the possible score. So you can see here as we compare, our most important competitions are with ourselves. And as you see there, there are notable increases with Asian, multi-ethnic, English language learners. And while there are no significant decreases, we do note that African American and special ed did come down just a touch, and economically disadvantaged up just a touch. The next slide again is our comparison to the state. And I think we can say that those 5 areas that we watch closely, African American, Hispanic, economically disadvantaged, English language learners, and special ed, all 5 of those areas, as you can see, are much closer than we want them to be in comparison to the state. So there are opportunities for improvement. Now, as we look at the comparison with reading and writing across, moving outward in the circles, you can see our comparison to charter in consortium schools, the comparison to our county schools, the comparison to the high-performing school districts in the state. Again, you can see there that Northville and Novi right neck and neck with us. And then in our demographically most comparable on the far right. As we shift over to math, take a look at this math progress. Again, it's just the second year, so we don't have a trend yet, but seeing increases across total students, white students, Asian students, multi-ethnic, and English language learners, significant increases there. Slight decreases with African American, Hispanic, in special ed, just right on the nose both years, and then economically disadvantaged up just ever so slightly. So you can see the math comparisons. It's obvious from looking at that chart that we have disparities and we have work to do there in those areas. As we look at the comparison of math to the state, you can see right away those areas that stand out as being more similar to the state scores. So we do have work to do there. Moving outward in the circle, looking at mathematics compared to our consortium schools, to our county-wide schools, to the high-performing districts in the state, and to those that are more demographically comparable in the state. Again, seeing those same two school districts, Northville and Novi, edging us just a bit. We'll make a wide right turn here, trustees, if it's okay, because you recall last year that SAT also gives us a college readiness index. There are fancy algorithms behind all of this. I spent some time this afternoon with our research team, and we have more work to do to get full understanding of all of the algorithms. But here it is simply. If students are able to be within that range of 480 to 800 in reading and writing, and between 530 and 800 in math, they are determined to be, according to the SAT, college ready. And their definition of that is that the student has a 75% chance of earning at least a C in a first semester credit-bearing college course. So that is the definition of this indicator. Let's take a look at how our students did overall. The first bar is the highest of the bars you'll see tonight. This bar is those students who were able to meet that readiness indicator on both sides of the coin, both reading and writing and math. And you can see in Ann Arbor Public Schools, we are up from last year to this year by about 5.5 points. The state remained flat. So this year, about 70% of our students meeting both sides of the coin, demonstrating that they are indeed ready for college according to this metric. Let's look at the subgroups of our students, though. That's where we see the work that we need to attend to. And you can see the movement over last year to this year. Clearly, our disparities are there, and we have work to do with all students, and particularly with students who are African American, Hispanic, economically disadvantaged, English language learners, and special ed. Although it is worth noting, look at that change from last year to this year with multi-ethnic. It's just an amazing change in their score, and we'll learn more about that as we go. College readiness compared to the state. You can see here how we look in comparison to the state. let's look at boys and girls. And this is boys and girls who meet both sides of the coin, both reading and writing and math. And good to see that we're up with both girls and boys. And boys in Ann Arbor Public Schools edging girls by just about 5 points there. Essentially no movement at the state level. Now with college readiness, we'll actually be diving into just reading and writing here. And you can see that on this particular slide, most areas quite flat, Hispanic dropping off just a bit, and multi-ethnic increasing. And then again, English language learners who are lower in their percentage, but a very nice gain there. Here's our comparison to the state in reading and writing. And let's switch over to math. College readiness indicator on math. Again, seeing some scores decreasing there, particularly African American there, that we are mindful of. And obviously noting on the math side that there are disparities, African American, Hispanic, economically disadvantaged, English language learners, and special needs. Here's a comparison in math with the state. You note on the college readiness side of things that we far exceed the state. That does not give us comfort when the disparities are significant. We clearly have work to do. Trustees, the last two slides are comparison slides that Performance Committee likes to have, because when you see those bars on the other slide, you can go over here and see exactly what the numbers are that represent all of those other district bars. And then also on slide 35, the next slide, you can see the demographic comparison of those districts that we've chosen. So sometimes it's good to say, well, we noticed Farmington and we noticed that Novi kept being up there with us. What is their free and reduced lunch? And you can go through there and actually see that economically disadvantaged is about 6% compared to our 22%. And then Northville was the other district that edged us just by a few points, and we see there that their economically disadvantaged is 4% compared to our 22%, so about a sixth of what we have. So I hope that these background slides are helpful to you. We do recognize they're almost impossible to read here, but you do have them close there, and folks, of course, can get them online. We had rich discussion at Performance last week, and trustees, we are going to bring you more information on our plan moving forward. I've asked Ms. Dickinson-Kelly as she shares this presentation with her team to wrap back to us with what is our plan for 17-18 as we look at preparing for next April. We certainly are offering tutorials and after-school help on performance. We talked about how much help can we get right into the school day so that we can ensure that everybody gets that support. And trustees, we will be following up with a plan of action. We also will be hosting our evening parent workshops that we've done in the past, and those are typically very heavily attended. And my only concern, and we discussed this on performance, we have a few concerns, but one of them is last year we had many parents out because it was new. SAT was new. We want to keep that interest up and keep our parents coming out, even though this will be the second and third year and fourth year coming up. We don't want to get accustomed to it, because we know that doing well on the SAT is a high bar, and we want to make sure that our students are getting all the support that they can get. And so with that, trustees, I'll look forward to your discussion. My team and I will be noting your questions, and we will follow up on everything that we can. Thank you.